Going back to how other people might look at your work, often when you've worked over a long period as you have, people like to divide you up into periods.
That's right.
A kind of Picasso.
Blue periods. Yes, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're dead right as well.
That's right. Now, you said that there is a centre to everything you do, and it was interesting that when you described that centre, you related it to the bonding between yourself and children, and a responsibility that you feel that when you leave that classroom, you do not want to have done any harm, and you hope to have done some good. But what about the work itself? Because you're described as a drama teacher. Now, is there a centre to the drama work you do?
Oh yes.
Can you describe
yes,
that?
I would say the centre is it must obey the true nature of what is dramatic. And the true nature of what is dramatic to me is that people shall interact with a sense of feeling as well as thinking, a responsibility for how they now create what is going on between all the people, and they shall know they have done it deliberately and they are safe, they're making it for themselves, they're inventing that.
Yes.
And that might seem as if it would always look like theatre, but no. If you are, for example, in Mantle of the Expert, it's your passion for being responsible for your work that is what creates it then, but you know it isn't you in the real world. You know it's the work you've invented and are preserving.
Yes.
So that to me would be, it's got to be in now time, and it's got to have this sense of we are driven by what our wills are to achieve this that we have
Yes.
to do, and it might
we're
be
making these choices, and we know why we're making.
and we know why we're making them, and it could be facing the Gorgon, or it could be have we got enough coffee cups
Yes.
for the people who are coming to coffee or whatever.
Yes. Yes.
The mind's eye. It's difficult to sort out because they run smoothly in. I was always interested in studying text, so I seem to think I did a lot of this at one stage, not because I expected them to do text with children, but to recognise something to do with it is in the now of the response that text is born.
Yes.
I don't learn my lines and say mine after you've said yours.
No.
So very tiny pieces of text, so that they could see really how theatre worked, but not so that they'd get good at acting. I was never terribly bothered about that. But that thrill, I mean, if you couldn't be a teacher, you'd be a producer, of making black marks come into this bonding that is expressed, and the way teachers could learn to let it be born from a response, rather than wait to say it.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
That I still think that's one of the most exciting.
In those early days, at the time I remember you doing this textual work, you used to go around saying drama was man in a mess.
Yes.
As though you had found that as a way of grabbing teachers
Yes.
and helping them quickly to
Yes.
understand
Yes.
how you structured anything.
Yes.
You looked for the mess.
Yes. Kenneth Tynan was a very
That's right.
important statement, that of his. And so that would go to my Tynan period. Though I can't remember anything else Kenneth Tynan ever wrote.
No, but that was it.
Because I tend to say, oh well, good, that's fine, I can put you away now. I can't take any more. Because I really do think you read something, well I do anyway, and something rings a bell and you have a revelation of some kind, and it transforms the light that shines on everything else you know. And I always know when it's happened to me, you know. And I go away, I mean, mentally I feel I'm in a haunted feeling and I must go into this hole, and when I come out the light will be all different, because everything can be seen in a different way, and I've just realised it. So of course a new language comes out. It's very disturbing, I know, but anything else would be wrong to do. So you've got your different periods.
No, but it was a time when people started to describe your work, and I know you never did, as gut level drama.
Oh yes.
But was there something about the work you were doing that caused them to see it in that way?
Yes, I would think the way I would underpin the work we were doing would probably give rise to that. I would tend to maybe do what I call homely parallels to what we were doing. Like, well, that's only family trouble, isn't it? I remember saying to a group of boys working on Joseph and his coat of many colours, and say, well, it's just family trouble, isn't it? There must be other family troubles. And it's that kind of thing, I would think, that sometimes would make it.
You don't think it
and
was
I would stop it.
Perhaps the kind of roles you chose to play?
Oh, well,
so
yes, I'm sure that is...
You would use a sudden entrance.
Yes,
very powerful.
yes. Sometimes, yes. I would be more subtle now.
Well, now you would either be more subtle, or you would say, in a few moments,
this is going to
will
happen.
it be all right if I do this?
That's right. Yes. Because I don't have to make it happen to them.
That's right.
You
now
see?
That's a very important
That's right.
learning.
Yes, it is. Yes. Yes, now that, I would think...
That is Brechtian.
Yes. I would terribly fear making it happen to them now. And yet at the time I didn't know what else to do. Yes.
We went through that period in the 60s,
Yes.
where we were saying they've got to have the experience.
That's right, yes. It's got to be a
Otherwise,
proper drama.
what can they reflect on?
That's right, yes.
Now, we don't say that
No.
anymore.
Mind, I never was comfortable with, now we've done it, let's sit and talk about it.
No.
Because I don't think I have that language for doing that. You see, and if we talk about it, that it we just experienced is really gone.
Yes, because you're starting a new experience.
Exactly.
You see, you had this period, let's just call it emotive, very powerful, where you felt they had to have the experience.
Yes.
And then I recall people became very puzzled because you, once it had got going, would stop it and restart it and start. Now this did not make sense to people at all.
No.
And I recall taking weekend courses where I interrupted the flow.
Yes.
And people said I was ruining their creativity.
Yes.
So there was that uneasy period when you appeared to be doing one thing and then pulling the carpet away.
Yes.
As though you were looking for a way of reflecting without it being divided into this business. Now we do drama,
then
now
we talk
we discuss.
about it. I'm sure you're right.
Because
in
the
its
reflection
motive, yes.
must also be in anticipation. And as you
Yes.
said, the reflection's got to grow into
Yes.
the next bit.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
it, at some point, it must have dawned on you that you wanted this cool strip, as you call it, where they need not have the experience. They're going to engage with it without having it.
Yes. Yes.
Now, can
I
you
don't know.
pinpoint that at all?
I
think it
yes,
can be
yes,
formatted,
yes, yes, yes. Oh, it did. Oh, yes, yes. Actually, you'd be better at talking about the periods I've gone through than I am. They all sort of run into. Yes, I'd forgotten about that. I think it would be something to do with becoming very easy with children of all sorts. Enough success with difficult classes to feel that we're all right, aren't we? Not necessarily that we were, but I felt we might be. And probably this slow realisation of the distancing thing, which would be unconscious. I remember saying once, well, you see what you're going to do then, and it was Tom Stabler's group, and they were developing something about Jezebel. It's in 3 Rooms Waiting. And I remember saying, well, what you're doing is in the direct tradition of the church's teaching. Now, that class was 7 years old. It's not the Jezebel group that are in the movie. It's what the church used to do. And I found that such a sensible way of going on, that could almost be the beginning. I found myself thinking, oh, well, if that interests you, if you want to do this, there's all sorts of ways you can make ghosts happen.
Yes.
And it was coming through that kind of thing.
Yes.
An instinct to let them see how the theatre does its job.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, some of my changes have come about because of clever students.
Oh, yes.
John Carroll, I remember, who one day said something like, you're talking about 2 different things there, I think. And I remember going up to the blackboard and saying, of course I am, though in fact I didn't know till he said it.
Yeah.
And I did a drawing, and the drawing was, if you're in the middle of something, and this is the Brecht, but I now am much more elaborate about it. If you're in the middle of something, you have to be able to act, I said. But if you are, it's happened before and you're telling somebody about it, or if you've got to explain it to somebody else because, and there's the framing.
Yes.
Now, Sandra Heston has found all my things in my cupboards.
Yes.
And she can trace that through about 16 stages, which of course I've forgotten. Try and throw it away in a drawer. And but I remember the first time I did it. And then of course I went through that stage which I get so bored by now, because the copyists, the academic copyists, who write papers and have never seen anything, will quote me things that are so old that you wonder if they've been in a hole for the last 15 years. Like the people who are shouting about my universals, as if it's something to be ashamed of. I went, that universals, it was only a way of talking about something. And it belongs way, way back. It's as old as the hills, it's the Stone Age. And I read, they're dragging it up, and I think, well, where have they been? They must have been in a room with dusty books and never heard the wireless or seen a video. So I went through that stage of trying to explain that the surface of the drama has to be about something else. So that would be when I invented that peculiar thing that, I don't say anything about now. trying to explain that there are only certain things it can be about, and you have to know that it's if it's going to grow, it's got to grow bigger than just this little anecdotal affair that's tinkering along at the top.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of thing that we know. It's the same thing as saying, well, it's only family trouble, isn't it?
Yes.
So you're saying it that way, or if you're, as we were dealing with Cinderella yesterday, it's like saying, well, somebody has to win. They can't all marry him.
Yes.
And those are what I used to call universal truths.
That's right. Making connections.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm.